Hello everybody, and I'd like to welcome you all to the 2026 version of the National Maritime College of Ireland CAO Advisory Session. And I suppose you're all here. In the first instance, if you've put us down, or one of our courses at least, down as your, first, second, or third maybe choice on the CAO system, and you're very, very welcome. Also, we put the invitation out for anybody, I suppose, that hasn't fully made up their mind, and we're hoping that maybe we can help you change your mind to put down the NMCI or one of our programs here today. So I suppose firstly, before we move on, actually, if we go back for one moment, Donald, sorry, just everybody there's an email address there, and it's nmci.admissions@mtu.ie. And that's a handy one to have there. If you do have any questions, that email address will point you in the right direction to the correct course coordinator, depending on the course that you might be interested in. So we can move on. So our goals today in this session is to give you a little introduction to the NMCI and what it is that we do, and to talk you through our three seafaring or undergraduate CAO courses. That's nautical science, marine engineering, and marine electrical engineering, or marine electrotechnology, as it's also known. We're going to talk to you about how we get our students companies, or how we get them berths on vessels, and it's a really important part of what we do here in the college. And we have a really good success rate with that. All our students, we will find them all berths on ships. The head of admissions in MTU is going to talk to you about how to apply, whether that's through the CAO system or the mature student process. We have one of our students here, a final year student, who's going to talk a little bit about the student experience. And then at the end, we have a bit of time for questions and answers. And one of our staff members is monitoring the chat here. So you're more than welcome to pop questions into the chat, or you can ask them at the end, whatever you want. And we'll track back through the chat at the end, and we'll do our very best to answer the questions. And if we don't answer it today, we will follow up with an email with an answer. So, first of all, I suppose just very briefly, a little bit of background about the NMCI. It is obviously the National Maritime College of Ireland. We're a constituent college of Munster Technological University. We're one of six campuses belonging to the university. We are designated as the National Centre by the Irish government as the National Centre of Excellence for Maritime Education and Training. Our mission as a college is to enable Ireland's maritime. We do that by providing education in five distinct areas. The three we're talking to you guys about today is our nautical science, our marine engineering, and marine electrical engineering pathways for seafarers. We also have a suite of supply chain and logistics programs here in the college, ranging from level 6 all the way up to master's level, and additionally in the area of maritime operations. The Ireland's ocean economy is worth 7 billion per year. There is 33,000 employees in full-time employment in Ireland's ocean economy. And if you look at secondary employments, you're looking at about
One
7,000.
minute.
So
I'll knock this off in a minute.
it's on. There's somebody's mic there on. If you could just monitor that and turn it off for us, we'd appreciate it. For any of our school leavers here, I'm sure you can all recognize that little teddy bear on the right of that image that's resting on his side. That little teddy bear rests at the edge of Europe, and of course it's us, it's the island of Ireland. What you mightn't be so familiar though with is the red line, or that map that you see drawn around Ireland. And what we call that here in the college is the real map of Ireland, and it's our economic waters. And I suppose that now is becoming more prominent in the media, and we're seeing more and more. And the reason we're seeing more and more about this economic zone, if we skip to the next slide, is because Ireland and Europe has recognized that we have great capacity in the country for offshore wind, and there's some really, really ambitious targets after being set by our country, and you can see them listed out here that by 2050 we would hope to see somewhere close to 5 gigawatts of grid connected offshore energy. By 2040, 20 gigawatts, and by 2050, 37 gigawatts. To put that in context, in simple terms, if the government hits their targets, we would be generating 7 times more electricity than we need. That would mean we would become exporters of energy within the European Union, and it would have transformational effects on our economy. And from our perspective, National Maritime College, we're very excited about this because, you know, unquestionably, there's going to be employment in the planning phases, which is happening at the moment, the implementation and installation, and of course, the maintenance phase of offshore wind. So, really big opportunity for Ireland, and also a big opportunity for you guys that might enter careers here in the NMCI. Let's look specifically at one of our ports. If we take Dublin Port as an example, Dublin Port calls itself the gateway for Ireland's export business, and you can see that 40 billion euros of trade passes through Dublin Port each year. 190 billion euros of trade passes through the country each year. So that's quite a sum. And another point, I suppose, that's really important. You can see this blue line this blue line that's going up and down as we go through. This is from the 1980s, and that blue line in terms of the economy is changing there all the time with different events that are happening, like geopolitical events such as COVID-19, or at the moment what's happening with Iran and the US. However, the black line represents the growth in Ireland's port sector, and it's consistently been 5% year on year. The point being that our maritime sector, the amount of trade, the amount of commerce through our ports is increasing year on year, and that is consistent. It's recession proof. Our piece, I suppose, and our message to all of you here today is that if you do consider a maritime career, you know, a lot of people will go and they'll be doing teaching, they'll be going maybe doing the guards, nursing, a finance career, a law career, you know, and they're all very good career paths. But one thing we can certainly guarantee you in National Maritime College is that if you come and have a go at one of these careers, you are certainly beginning an exciting and very different journey to your friends. And there is a variety of pathways. Whether you want to go and work in LNG, whether you want to work in cargo, on a container vessel, on the cruise industry, we mentioned offshore wind. If you look there at the vessel in the middle left of the screen, many of you will have never seen or heard of a vessel like this. And this is actually known as a cable laying vessel. I'm sure you might have seen in the media about the shadow fleet and the subsea cables and critical infrastructure being damaged. But this vessel that you see here on the left is known as a cable laying vessel, and many of our graduates would go and work on a vessel like that. So there's a variety of different types of vessels. The one on the bottom right here is a ro-ro, so rolling on, a roll-on, roll-off ferry. There's a whole variety of career paths for our students, and they all go down different career paths. What we have here, just prior to talking to you about the courses, and we'll press play on the video here, is a lovely video that was shared with us by Dublin Port. And it's basically a kind of it's speeded up to show the process of a vessel coming into Dublin Port. And I suppose our message to you is, that our graduates are taking responsibility for vessels like this. They come to us in the college, and within 3 or 4 years, this is their job. They're, bringing vessels worth hundreds of millions of euros into ports all around the world with products and energy on those vessels worth hundreds of millions of euros. It's a really responsible, highly specialized, highly trained role. And that's what our graduates do. So that's an example of the type of work. So, very briefly, before I introduce you to some of our coordinators who are kindly here to talk to you tonight, again, we're talking to you about 3 programs. We have marine engineering. Marine engineering is a 4-year program, so it's 2 years with us in the college. There is a year at sea and then another year in college. We've marine electrotechnology is also 4 years. It's 2 years with us here in the college, a year at sea, and then a year back in the college again. And finally, we have nautical science, and you can see it's 3.5 years for the first part of the degree. So it's 1 year with us in the college, 1.5 years at sea. Now it's not actually 1.5 years at sea, it's 12 months at sea, but typically it'll take a year and a half to complete it. And then we have a year at sea, a year back with us in the college again. There is also an honours top-up degree to get your level 8 qualification that students in nautical science can avail of. It's a 1-year top-up. And additionally, I'm very excited to explain to you and announce here tonight that next year we will have a top-up level 8 honours degree for both our marine engineering and our marine electrical engineering students as well. So they'll have that opportunity of a 1 year honours top-up. Additionally, before I pass you to Brendan, um, just to mention that in addition to these primary seafaring degrees, we've a whole variety of other pathways within the college at a whole variety of different levels on the national framework of qualifications. You can see here we have a number of courses in what we call our supply chain career hub. We will be launching actually a supply chain degree, not for this September, but September the following year, September 27. We will have a new supply chain degree in the college. But we have a whole range of courses there from an apprenticeship in supply chain, a level 7 ordinary degree, a level 8 honours degree, all the way to a master's in supply chain. And we have additionally a variety of courses in our what we call our Maritime Leadership Centre, courses in high voltage, port and offshore energy management, maritime law and risk management, all the way up there to a master's in maritime operations and a master's in offshore wind systems as well. So there's a variety of courses that our students will sometimes take, and you can see they're part-time courses. They're done online and in the evenings. So I'm going to pass you now to our Marine Engineering Coordinator, Brendan Courtney.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for that, Brian. My name is Brendan Courtney, and I'm only joined NMCI recently. So I spent my career at sea mainly. So for the past 20 years, I was working on ships, everything from tankers to LNG carriers, which are in the news at the moment because of the crisis in the Middle East. And then I went to ferries. I've been on tugboats. I've been a chief engineer on very large super yachts for quite a few years. And then I made a transition to shore, which meant that I was getting phone calls from those ships when there was any problems occurring. So that's my background. I absolutely loved it. It's been the making of me. It's been a really good course, and what I love is the continued professional development. So just to start you off is what Brian said. Yes, we have 1 year in college or 2 years in college, followed by your C placement. So I was only talking to one of our second year students during the week, and he has got employment with a cruise ship. It was very interesting for him that he has his full next year mapped out. So he's going to sea this September. He knows his cruise that he's going on. He's going to be around Northern Europe. Then he'll be home for Christmas, I believe. He'll go back to sea again. And he is, I think, down in Asia for his next part of the cruise. And he'll be home in July 2027, ready to come back into us in September 2027 to complete his third year. So that's just a typical student. So this photograph here is from an oil tanker. I would have spent many happy years working in that engine room. Down on the far left or on the bottom left is the main propulsion. So that is just a massive main engine. Think 3, 4 story building high, producing enough power to turn our propeller and move the ship. And then in the background in the middle are 3 diesel generators. So they power all the lights, all our cargo equipment. They would be in the region of 1,000 kilowatts or 1 megawatt sets. And then sitting just above it is our boiler. So we'd have maybe 1 or 2 of these boilers operating. Let's say your car pressure is 2.5 bar. These would be operating anywhere from 8 bar all the ways up to on steam propulsion 60 bar. So big boys toys, really, really enjoyable bits of kit to work on. Absolutely loved it. So we can move on for that one. So when you go to sea initially, like I said, like our second year marine engineering student, they're going to go off as a cadet. And what a cadetship is like an internship, I suppose, where you try and spend time working in each role within the engineering department. So you start off with the junior guys, make your way up through the rank to the second engineer who's in charge of the engine room. And all during that time, you'll be understudying the chief engineer, who's chief engineer of the entire vessel, all technical spaces. So then when you come back to us, you finish off your degree and you get a license, which earns you the money. It's called a certificate of competency, and that gets you hopefully gainful employment as a junior engineer or a fourth engineer. And then you make your way up the ranks. So I mentioned CPD. That means that you've continued professional development. After you're qualified, hopefully you'll return back to us and go for your second engineering license. That means you can be the second engineer or in charge of the engine room on any vessel around the world. And hopefully you get that, go back out to sea again, and spend more time at sea before finally coming back to us to become a chief engineer unlimited, which means you're certified to work on any size vessel in the world. Okay, so this is just a glance at some of the courses that we have. So we have creativity and innovation, and that kind of sets the cornerstone for transition into third level education. We have physics for marine engineers, and it may appear in the chat, or some of these questions may appear in the chat about, do I need to have physics? Do I need to have drawing? Do I need to have metalwork skills? The answer is no. I didn't have any of those skills, and I did absolutely fine. We don't presume you come in with any of these skills. We teach you from the very start. You can get through it, absolutely. So we have then mechanics, we have workshop, we have loads of cool workshop projects that we get through. It's an engineering course, so obviously there's going to be maths, some drawing. Then you start to get exposed to electronics because everything has a power source or a plug on it these days, and it's just getting more and more. And thermodynamics is just to do with, like I said, those engines, those boilers. That's the kind of main subjects of first year. You can, yeah, perfect. So with that, I'll be monitoring the chat. Any questions, and we'll get to them. And I'm just going to pass you over to David Dennehy for the next section.
Hi, thanks, Brendan. Hi, guys. My name's David Dennehy. So, one thing to say, I was actually a student in NMCI myself. I've done the Marine Electrotechnology course. I finished up in 2018. And after that, I went on to spend 7 years working on a cruise vessel. A brilliant 7 years. I really, really enjoyed it. I got great experience. And then I made the move back to land just 2 years ago. Um, because of my degree in marine electrotechnology, I was very easily able to find a job as a project manager, doing projects for pharma companies around Ireland, really, mostly in the Munster area. So, and then I came to NMCI just 2 years, almost 2 years at this stage. All right, guys. So the marine electrotechnology course, same like the engineering course, you do 2 years in the college, studying a mix of engineering, electrical engineering. For year three, then you'll spend 9 months getting a work placement, and then you'll come back in year four and you'll finish up in year four. If you can go to the next slide, please. So what does an electrotechnical officer do? Basically, you're a marine electrical engineer, okay? So you'll be responsible for the maintenance, the repair of all the electronic equipment on board. So what does that entail? It's about complex power management systems, electrical power generation, and distribution. So our power generators on board create the power. Then the power goes to switchboards or switch rooms, and it's distributed across the vessel as we need it. We use high voltage, use low voltage, and everything in between. We're also in charge for the navigation and communications equipment. So think of the radios for communicating, radar, like that. Also, a big part of our job is instrumentation, automation, and control. So this is about using various sensors. You can imagine speed sensors, temperature sensors, to control systems, like let's say the temperature in a room or the speed of an engine. And we do that through automation. We're going to have a quick look at second year. So this is second year of the electrotechnology program. First year is shared with the marine engineers. So it's almost the same. So we're just going to have a quick look at second year. You can see in semester one, it's all very heavily electrical focused. So we have digital systems, we've electrical and electronics, marine analog systems. And to note, on the first three there, they're split almost evenly between lecture work in the classroom, so where you're listening to lectures, and then half the time you're spent in a lab. And in the lab, basically, you get to put into practice everything we, teach in the lectures. The labs are absolutely brilliant in NMCI, actually. We've great use of the equipment to make things work, and sometimes things blow up, but that's fine. It's a lab. As we go on, we have marine automation. This is another brilliant subject. It's heavily, heavily practical. So you're programming your own like mini industrial computers to do different tasks. We go down, we've marine diagnostics, where this will switch not in a class or a lab. You'll actually be in a workshop type setting where you will learn how to wire up different systems like motors, lights, and also diagnose problems with those systems. We'll finish off there with mathematics. You all know what that is. We'll go on, and semester two then, we've only 5 subjects, which is a nice one. We start with marine communications, so that's the use of all radios, basically. How do we communicate with other vessels, with Coast Guard, with stations ashore, right? We've control engineering and instrumentation, where we learn how do we control different systems, let's say, for example, temperature. Instrumentation, we learn about all sensors, and marine power systems, just more systems that you'd find on a typical ship, and mathematics again to finish it off. There. Guys, so most people stay at sea for around, 5 to 7 years. Mostly people want to come back on land as they're getting into their late 20s, maybe, or 30s, want to start a family. So we're just going to look through the opportunities when you come ashore. So when you leave the shipping. At the moment, it's very popular, the on and offshore wind generation. It's a growing sector with a lot of job availability. From this list here, you can see classification society surveyor. We've technical superintendent. You could be a marine insurance surveyor. You could go to work in a power station like the ESB, like some of my colleagues have from the college. Plant operators, heavy industrial plant manager, chemical plant manager. One that's not there, guys, is pharmaceutical plant manager and medical devices, okay? Most of the people I went to college with are now in pharmaceutical plants or medical devices at the moment. Right, we also have shipping and ISM auditors, expert eyewitnesses, or you could become a lecturer or an instructor in a marine-related field. And that's it for me, guys. I'll be around if you have any questions about the marine electrical engineering after. I'm going to pass you over now to Donald Keane to talk to you about nautical science.
Thanks, David. So yeah, this was just a quick recap on what Brian touched on already. Nautical science, that's the course you're going to want to do if you want to be a deck officer. So that's the person who looks after the navigation of the ship and the cargo work on the ship. And ultimately, they're like captains in training, I suppose. So that the top of that career path would be to be captain of a ship. So for this course, it's a first year in college. We have it here as year 2 at sea, but as Brian mentioned, it's going to be 12 months sea time, so that's time actually spent on a ship. You'll usually do 3 or 4 month stints at a time, then come home for a couple of weeks, back out for another 3 or 4 months. So realistically, that takes like 18 months to complete. And then you're back for year three. So the whole course is about 3.5 years from start to finish until you're qualified. So what sort of stuff does a deck officer do? Um, Depends a little bit on what sort of ship you're working on, but there's some things in common with them all. So every ship has to go somewhere it wants to get there safely. So we look after the navigation. I suppose it's knowing where you are, where you want to be, and not hitting the hard pointy bits in between. We have to look at vessel stability. So making sure we don't capsize the vessel, making sure we don't tip down the front or the back of the ship, and if it rolls over with the wave, it's going to come back up again. We look after kind of work on deck, so the seamanship kind of stuff, anchoring, mooring, keeping the ship alongside. Once we do get into port, then we have to look after the cargo. So physically putting it on and off the ship, deciding where it's going to go, making sure it's secured. Some cargo will actually load and discharge itself, so we call those passenger ships. The cargo will walk up and down for you, but you still have to look after it and keep the ship safe. So that's where you're doing navigation and cargo really. As a career path, then once you qualify from the college, so you get two things. You'll have your level 7 degree in nautical science. That's great for working ashore, but it doesn't let you work on a ship. What does let you work on your ship is your license from the Department of Transport. So you'll be licensed as an officer of the watch. So that'll let you take charge. So be let loose by yourself at whatever it is, 21 or 22 years of age. You'll be in charge of the ship for 8 hours a day. You'll have someone maybe keeping a lookout for you, but you'll be the one giving the instructions. After a couple of years at sea, so you need another 18 months sea time, you can come back to the college for that top up year. That'll get you your level 8 degree, which is nice to have if you decide to come ashore at some point. But more importantly, you'll get your chief mate's license. So that'll allow you to sail as a chief officer. So the captain is the guy in charge, chief officer is one step down, and he kind of does the day-to-day running of the ship. He'll look after all the maintenance, look after all the cargo planning. And then with a little bit more sea time, so it'll be a total of 36 months since you first qualified, you can then sit your exam for master. And once you're a master, unlimited, that means if it floats, you can be the boss. So I suppose as Brendan and David touched on as well, they spent a couple of years, or more than a couple of years, working at sea before they started to work in the college. I would have been the same, so I qualified as a master back in 2017. I stayed at sea till around 2020, so it was nearly 15 years at sea. I shifted ashore then to work in the oil terminal in Bantry for a couple of years before I came down to the college. So it is one of the nice things with the college. We've all been there, we've all done it in terms of the staff. We're not just academics who are talking the talk, we've actually been out there and done it as well. So quick look at the first year, some of the modules you'll do. So chart work, that's looking at, I suppose you might know them as maps. We call them charts at sea. So we've got paper charts. We also have electronic charts. So teaching students how to position the ship, find out where they are and mark it down on the charts. General ship knowledge then is kind of an introduction to the stability, to the cargo work, and to construction, just how ships are designed and built. We look at bridge watchkeeping then. So that's how you go about managing a bridge, steering a ship, communications, that kind of thing. There is a bit of maths. I saw someone had a question about maths in the chat as well. So there's a bit of technical maths and an applied maths in semester 2. You'll be fine if you've ordinary maths with the leaving cert, but it is useful, it was beneficial if you're not scraping a pass in the leaving cert. It is the subjects that tends to trip people up in terms of not passing their exams. But if you're kind of a reasonable standard at ordinary, you'll be fine. Got navigation and meteorology then. So again, figuring out where the ship is and looking at the weather, very important for seafarers, has a big impact on our lives. Semester 2, we look at electronic navigation aids. So then you're looking at GPS or electronic charts, speed and depth instrumentation. Maths, I mentioned seamanship is a nice one. That's the kind of salty old stuff, playing with ropes and anchors, looking at safety on board, that kind of thing. And shipboard safety, there's a number of short courses. All our students have to do engineering and electrotech as well, which look at things like firefighting, first aid, sea survival. Because basically, once we're out on the ships, we've no fire brigade to call to help us. We've no doctors to call. We have to look after all that stuff ourselves. So we do basic training in first year, and then when you come back in third year and subsequent years, that gets increased to kind of standards. Coming ashore then, lots of opportunities. You can get into kind of the business side of it, chartering, that's looking at renting and hiring cargoes and ships. There's harbour pilots, the people that conduct the ships in and out of the ports, the harbour masters who are in charge of the ports, lecturing or instructing in the college or other training centres. A lot of our students will go on to do top-up degrees in law and become maritime lawyers, working in the insurance industry, say surveyors working for the Department of Transport. So there's a lot of options, and as David said, people don't stay at sea forever anymore. Very few people retire from sea, if you want. Typically from the nautical science side, it takes about 10 years if you're really going quick at it. It's about 10 years to qualify as Master Mariner. So typically people would tend to stay at sea if they can until they get that qualification and then look at coming ashore then once they've kind of reached the top of their qualifications. Just a quick look at the points required for all the courses here and the number of places. So engineering, there's 40 places, electrotech 20, and nautical sciences 48. You can see the points there from the previous years, so they're kind of reasonably steady in the kind of mid 200s. The point I'd just like to make here, though, if you look at the kind of average points, so that's if you look at the average points of the students in the class are a good bit higher. Hopefully, you know the way the CAO system works. It's a kind of supply and demand. Our courses don't have a huge demand just because of, I suppose, the lifestyle. It's a bit of a vocation. It's not for everyone. So because it's not for everyone, it's not like a common arts degree where everyone's sticking it down in the form. Because there's not a lot of people applying, the points tend to be a bit lower, but that doesn't reflect, I suppose, the quality of the course or how difficult the course it is. You can't just say, there's only 200 points there, sure. Any old dope will get through that. Doesn't work that way. So there is hard work required, and say just giving you an indication of the average points people are coming in with. So there are some people coming in with plenty of high points as well. So what sort of people might enjoy being a student here or getting the career at sea? But someone who likes kind of practical stuff. All our courses involve a lot of practical work, working with your hands, being outdoors, beneficial. It's a big team game. You're going to be on a ship, a small cargo ship. There might be 10 or 15 of you. Big cargo ship, 30 of you. Big passenger ship, you could be looking at 1,500 crew, a couple of thousand passengers. So big teams and lots of people to work with. So even though you are kind of isolated from the world, maybe you're very much connected with the crew on board. You get a lot of responsibility quite young, which is really satisfying. It's really a great way to motivate you and encourage yourself, is literally getting to be left in charge of your watch, whether it's on the bridge or in the engine room. There's very few of your schoolmates or colleagues, I think, will have that kind of responsibility at that age. I think I've mentioned this. Okay, you'll be responsibility at an early age. International qualifications, so you'll have your degree from MTU, but in addition, you'll get your license. We're kind of certified to the STCW standards. So that's an international standard. So you can bring this license and work on ships anywhere in the world with that. Salaries are very good, let's say, especially compared to what other college leavers would be getting. And you'll be qualified after, say, 3.5 for the deck or 4 years for the engine or electrotech programs. So I'm going to hand you over now to Annette Coughlin. She's our Maritime Liaison Officer, and she's just going to speak to you briefly about the kind of sea phase work experience part of the programs. Annette, are you there?
Hi guys, can you hear me? Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Donald. As Donald's kindly introduced, I am the Maritime Industry Liaison Officer at the college. And my role really here is to manage the electrotechnical, engineering and nautical science placement parts of the programme. What's that? We've ran briefly through the sea phase elements. But my role really kind of delves into how we best prepare you for that and give you the necessary support so that you can make the right decision and focus in on what section of the industry that you'd like to go to. So where we kind of kick that off in the first year for deck, and I'll come to meet you in your second year of marine engineering and again in your second year of Marine Electrotechnology. That's when I really step in, and I will schedule what's known as an annual shipping company presentation week. And during that presentation week, we invite members from the shipping industry to schedule presentations either on site at the college or indeed remotely over Teams. And they are really well attended because the cadets are really interested to see what the companies have to offer. It just gives them that first little bit of a insight into, what the next 18 months or the next 17 months will entail in order to get that C phase piece. So the companies will pitch to our cadets and try and gauge an interest on who wants to go where, whether it's tanker, trade, container, bulk carrier sectors, the RoPac sectors, and indeed the cruise sector. And I'm glad to say that we've been seeing a rapid increase, especially post-COVID, and a great variance across the types of company cadetship that we can offer. So it's an exciting time to be. If you might just go back to the previous slide there briefly, Donal. I think it skipped on. It'll give you a nice snapshot on what to expect that presentation week. It's wrapped up in about 5 days. Moving on then, we will schedule with our careers team. We have a very active careers team up in Bishopstown, and they will schedule what is known as interview prep and practice sessions. We will support you with that, with all the necessary documentation on how to formulate CVs, how best to prepare yourself ahead of the shipping company interviews. And what's wonderful, you'll get to know this as a student. You'll come to know what's known as Careers Connect, and that'll give you a one-to-one opportunity to start practicing in an interview setting. And you'll get feedback, and there's a fantastic AI tool on that site as well. Once you're registered as a full-time student, you can go on, log into your own sign on and have a look at that. It's very much an open interview process. We invite applicants from Deck Engine and ETO to apply to any company they wish. We don't ask people. We ask people to, I suppose, have a think about where they'd like to go, and try and put a focus on that. And I suppose that's why the presentation week is so important. So it's very much an open interview process. Once you are selected for interview, the interviews are scheduled in February and March, and with offers paid out in March and into April. So it's kind of done well ahead of exam time, so you can settle the minds, settle the nerves, and focus on what's important, which is your exams. Just briefly touching upon cadet pre-C briefings there, what the purpose of those briefings will be to bring students through an awareness, or give them an awareness on the type of agreement that they can expect, the rates of pay, the conditions on board ship, what the cadetship will entail, what routes you may be on, depending on what industry that you're in. And we also inviting companies towards the end of the year. Again, that can be done on site depending on their location. If some of the companies are based in Singapore, we'll do those pre-C briefings remotely. And they'll run you through, again, the basics, the uniform, what to expect, a life at sea, what supports you're going to get shoreside from us, what supports you're going to get while you're at sea. They'll talk about your company training officer. They'll talk about your training record book. They'll talk about visas, documentation, and inoculations, that sort of stuff. So it's actually a really good. They're really beneficial to have. So we generally do a lot of those remotely. But again, some of our UK counterparts will travel over to meet their sponsor cadets before they depart. And what's really nice about that is they tend to coincide that with a ship's visit. And we will schedule ship's visit possibly late May, early mid to June, and some into July. So any ships that are calling to Cork predominantly, we will schedule that with the cadet training managers and bring all of our sponsor cadets on board. So it gives them a taster on what to expect. And on the next slide, you'll see a full, not a full list, but a snapshot of some of the companies that are offering sponsorship and or placement with us at the moment. And you can see there, we have a nice spread across the tanker trades, cargo, cruise lines, and bulk carriers. So, and RoPacs, of course, is represented there as well. So it's growing, and I'm just glad to say that I'm happy to be in an industry that's constantly evolving. It's ever diverse, and our numbers are growing. So it's a very exciting part of the industry to be working in. Thanks. So
Thanks.
requirements. Donald, do you want to take that one again
Yeah.
about the discharge book? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. So just quickly, there's a couple of documents you'll have to get to work on ships. One is a discharge book. That's just what seafarers use to record the time they spend on ships. It's an official document, kind of like your passport, except just to record your time at sea. If you're an Irish citizen, you're able to get one from Ireland. If you're not an Irish citizen, you must check what you need to do to get one from your country's citizenship. So Irish citizens, we facilitate the process in the college, but just the Department of Transport regulations don't allow us to issue them to non-Irish citizens. So if you are if you have a citizenship from a different country, just make sure you will be able to get a discharge book there before you come in. The other thing is the medical and eyesight exam. So all seafarers have to do a seafarer's medical every 2 years. It's not a very arduous exam, but it is just checking the basics. And as I said, we don't have doctors at sea for the most part. We have to look after ourselves, so we want a basic level of health, really. We do get the applicants to the course once you've been offered a place on the course. At that point, to go and get a seafarer's medical done. The reason for this is we don't want to get to the stage 12 months or for the engine and ETO cadets 24 months later, you're just about to go out on your first ship, so you go and get the medical and it turns out you have got some condition that won't allow you to go to sea. Most often the problem is undiagnosed color blindness. So again, if you can't tell red from green, it's an issue on the bridge because they're the side lights in the ship, or say down the engine room, if you can't tell the red wire from the blue wire, it's a problem. So that's why we ask you to do the seafarer's medical once you've been offered a place. It's not just go to your GP. There is a list of approved doctors that you have to go to, and the cost of this medical is €150 maximum. They're not allowed to charge you anymore. So if you do get offered a place, you'll be given more information about this, but just something to make you aware of now. So discharge book I mentioned, say international students, people who are non-EU residents. I suppose for the EU resident students, there is funding provided by the IMDO to support their placement on the ships, basically to help the companies out. Non-EU students aren't eligible for that. So for that reason, the international students would have to find their own berths, their own shipping company before they come to the college. For EU students, it's not a problem. We'll look after that for you. Vaccinations, this came up during COVID. There is a number of vaccinations you need to get to be able to travel around the world. Things like yellow fever, hepatitis, that kind of stuff. And now COVID vaccinations as well. So there was a couple of kind of people who didn't agree with vaccinations during COVID. And the shipping companies have put this in as a rule. It's nothing to do with MTU, but you will not be allowed to work on a ship if you don't get all these vaccinations. So if you have got a personal issue with vaccinations, then this isn't going to be a career for you. I'd say medical and eyesight requirements. So the form is the ENG 11. You go onto the Department of Transport website. You have to register an account there. But say most of this information will come when we will get offered a place. So I suppose you can worry about it then, but just know it is something you'll have to do. So now we're going to hand you over to Elise Davis. She's one of our current students. She's in third year on a nautical science program. And hopefully, Elise, if you could, I suppose, share some of your experiences with the people on the call here. I suppose what it was like in first year when you're in college, what it was like second year at sea. Tell us a little bit about your time there and what it's like now that you're back with us in college for your third year.
Okay. I'm nothing prepared. I didn't realize I was doing a little speech, but that's okay.
Even better. It's just off the top of your head. Nice and honest. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
First year, like they went through all of the subjects that were done, and as somebody mentioned, you are kind of brought step by step through each course. So I actually came back as a mature student to this course. So obviously I'd been out of education for a little while, and I was able to get back into the math and things like that straight away. So everything is very easily done. It's very handy. But yeah, as you can kind of see by some of these photos, we did a lot of, in the second semester, a lot of these firefighting and sea survival courses were absolutely brilliant. They were great fun. But obviously necessary, so you do have to kind of keep your head on. Yeah.
What sort of ships did you work on, Elise?
Oh yeah, so as Annette said, we did our interviews, and I ended up with a gas company called CPeak. Well, actually, they do oil as well, but I was mainly on gas tankers. As a cadet, it was mainly gas tankers, and I did my 12-month sea time with them. Fantastic. I mean, most of the ships they put me on had an extra female cadet, or with my first ship, I was actually put with a cadet from my same course. So they never, they never put me in a situation where I might feel uncomfortable as a cadet. Um, but I'm well able, so I would have been fine anyway. But it was great to have that little support anyway. And you actually kind of like the last ship I was with a female engineer, and I actually learned so much from her. I know I'm completely opposite side because I'm on the deck, but it was great to see both sides, because you are kind of meant with the list. You get a list during your second year of stuff to do, and you are supposed to see some of the engineering stuff. So it was good to get a little dabble in that as well. Back then this year, we've kind of got, so with the year and a half at sea, you start then actually in the January of the new year. So the semesters are the January to May, pardon me, and then September to December on the other side. So this semester is mostly academic, and we'll do all the short courses then in the next semester. So there's stuff to look forward in the other end. But again, it's all kind of what you've done at sea, and you're just bringing it into this year and just kind of furthering what you've done. They tend to let you pick up a lot of the knowledge at sea. So you dabble in it, as I say, in first year, but you get to really know it while you're on ship. And then they go into kind of more detail for the semester then that you're in. Yeah, anything else I'm missing?
I just clarify one thing there. You said you're in academics now when you're going into short courses. So academics
Yeah,
is the more theory-based subjects, and then the
exactly.
short
Sorry, yeah.
courses is like
Yeah,
practical stuff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And when you were on the ships, I suppose, what sort of places did you go to? Did you get into port very often? How long were your
Uh,
trips, or how long was
yeah,
your time
good.
off?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so first, I mean, so with the gas tankers, they tend to put the ports a little bit outside the city, so you don't necessarily get to get off as often as you would on a cruise ship. But then there's ups and downs, or like there's upsides to that because you get a lot more uh knowledge. See, I find being on the gas tanker, you kind of get to focus on that. With the cruises, there's a lot more ports and you get a lot more, guest time, but then you might lack on experience, hands-on time on some aspects. So that's kind of why I went with gas tankers. So I kind of sacrificed seeing all the ports of the world, but I got to travel the world. I started my first ship just off Madagascar, went up to India, did Australia, did China, did America, did Europe, did Egypt. I did so many, and that was kind of an accumulation of all three ships, but I got to travel to all of these places. So it was pretty cool. I didn't get to see them all, as I say, but I still enjoyed all of the difference in navigating them all is very different as well. So
Contracts in kind of what, 3 or 4 months was
yeah,
it at a time?
so that's what I was just about to say. Yeah, first one then was 4 months on the money, and I got 2 months off. I then had a 4.5 month contract and about 6 weeks off. And then I had a 3.5 month contract. And I think I was home with maybe 2 or 3 weeks then before I started back into college.
Okay. I think most companies you can expect once you qualify, you might do a similar 3 or 4 month trip, but instead
Yeah,
of 6 weeks or 2 months off, you could expect to get 3 or 4 months off, but
yeah,
still getting
yeah.
paid is
Once
usually kind of how it
qualified.
works in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Elise. It's a nice little
No
insight
problem.
and straight from the horse's mouth as well, so don't just keep us. So if anyone has got any questions for Elise, I'll just stick them up in the chat there. We'll see if we can answer them for you. And next, I'm going to hand you over to Lillian. Lillian looks after the applications up in Bishopstown, our main campus, so she'll just explain a little bit about applying to MTU.
Hi everyone, it's great to see such a high attendance. I'm delighted. Hoping to see many of you at registration in September. I'm the head of admissions at MTU, so I'm just going to talk you through applying. Some of you will probably have made applications already and you'll understand the process. Some of you will be here because you're thinking of your change of mind forms, and some of you will be like, oh my God, am I too late to apply? What's going on? So I'm just going to talk you through where we're at this time of the year in terms of applications. So we've different types of applicants. We have a standard CAO applicant who is doing Leaving Cert or presenting, will present Leaving Cert results in August. We still don't know what date that's going to be, but watch this space. Then we have mature applicants, and a lot of these courses are very popular with mature applicants, and these are students or applicants who are applying who are aged over 23 on the 1st of January on the year of application. We also look at QQI applicants, so people who are studying level 5 and level 6 courses in our colleges of further education. They can make an application too. And then we have other school leavers. So admissions would assess quite a lot of EU applicants over the summer months. So these are students who are presenting with other school exams from within the EU and the UK, like the International Baccalaureate, students from every EU country. So we do get quite a lot of EU interest in this. Students outside of the EU should apply through our international office. It's a different type of application. They don't come through CAO. And so if you're here as an international student tonight, you probably should touch base with our international students. So mature students, and we are getting a lot of queries because of the date and time at the moment, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. So mature students are assessed quite differently to our regular CAO or Leaving Cert applicants, and they have, I suppose, it's not based necessarily on results from your past. It might be based on experience you're bringing to the table. So what I would say to mature applicants is make sure if you're going to make an application that you touch base with admissions Cork at mtu.ie, so we can talk you through. And we do have a really, really, really brilliant mature student officer in MTU who would be of great help. But time is of the essence here. We will only be accepting mature applications until May 1st, as is the same for Leaving Cert late applications too. So if you haven't opened your CAO form yet, you have until May 1st to do this. So just to talk you through the mature application, we'll want to know your highest qualification to date. If you're doing anything currently study-wise, it doesn't have to be anything really formal or anything. It could be something you're doing through work. Any post-secondary education or courses that you've done. We'll want to know about your second level education, non-certificate, like continuing professional courses, continuing professional development courses that you've done. A lot of mature students will see the application coming in and they're given basic information. I would definitely advise any mature applicant to throw the book at us. We'll decide what is relevant, what's not. But very often you'll see an assessor go, wow, they did this. This shows great motivation or interest, or, you know, so it doesn't necessarily have to be on the national framework of qualifications, but any course you've done through work and things you've undertaken. Obviously, we'll want to know about your employment and voluntary work to date. If you're applying from outside of Ireland, we will need to check your English language proficiency. We'll look for references. The biggest thing here and the biggest mistake that I see applicants making is they do not fill out their statement of interest, and your application is disregarded straight away if there's no statement of interest. So we want to know, what's your motivation? Why do you want to do this course? Why are, you know, what has led you to this moment in time where you're actually applying for a course? And where you want, we probably want to see that you've researched the course and that you have potential outcomes. We don't want to know that you know exactly what you want to do in 4 years' time, but we want to know that you know what the outcomes could potentially be for you if you were to pursue this course of study. Obviously, any hobbies or interests, you know, just we want to see a bit of personality and any additional information that you feel would benefit your application. Be sure to include it in there. So what I would say is when you're working on your application, and I know time is of the essence, Christine Nolan, who is our mature officer, is absolutely brilliant at giving advice. So if you are applying to MTU, I would say get in touch with her. She's going to kill me. She's going to be really busy tomorrow. CAO applications. So all students for the 3 degree programs that we're looking at tonight will apply through CAO. That includes mature students. Apart from international students, they go through our international office. So you just log in. Many of you have probably opened CAO forms already. So if you have a 26 CAO number, you don't need to worry about this tonight. But if you don't, they will only be open until the 1st of May for late applications, and that's for matures as well as leaving certs. You just go to CAO apply. Making your application is quite straightforward. You'll be given a CAO number. You'll be asked to set up a password. Make sure you remember the password, because that's a huge problem in September when you can't remember your password and you can't see what your offer is. Your application, no, obviously can be reset, but we get a lot of frantic calls in early September going, I can't get into my CAO account. Your application number is private, but it should be used in every correspondence. So if you're writing to, or if you're emailing Admissions Cork, make sure you put that CAO number down there so we can make sure that you're at where you're at. You must complete the qualifications and assessment section that's relevant to you. So leaving certs will just have to say that you're doing leaving cert this year or that you did it last year, whatever year. You just have to and give your exam number, whereas mature students have a little bit more work to do in that regard. So you can make there's 2 course choice lists. So you can make 10 level 7 applications and 10 level 8 applications, and you can receive an offer of both a level 8 and a level 7 course. Obviously you can't accept both, but at least it gives you options in late August as to what you want to think about doing. And okay, the biggest piece of advice that I would give you in terms of filling out your CAO form is order of preference. This is massive. It's, if you get it wrong, there's no reversing it. We get phone calls the day of offers every year. The phones will be ringing in admissions. I got my first choice, but I think I prefer my second choice. There's absolutely zero that I or anyone in admissions anywhere can do for you at that point. So just really, over the next few weeks, really do think about what course would I prefer to do. And really, when you're looking at that, my advice would be to go in, like the lads were showing you earlier, what are the subjects in first year? Is this going to keep me entertained? Is this going to interest me? Will I get out of bed in the morning for this, basically? Or maybe will I find this too hard? Or is there more maths, chemistry, physics than I thought? These are the kind of questions you need to be asking yourself. So going into the website and looking at our modules and saying, right, yeah, no, I think I'd love this. Or, you're never going to like all 10 modules across a year, but, you'd want to be liking the majority, is what I'd say. So that's how I would advise people to check your order of preference. But this is really, really important. Change of mind. So as I said, CAO is still open until the 1st of May for late applications. That closes then the 1st of May, and then on the 5th of May, it will open for change of mind. So any of you who have already opened a CAO form, maybe back before the 1st of February, but are now contemplating putting one of our 3 degree courses here on, or any of our courses basically, you have an opportunity to go in again from the 5th of May until the 1st of July and add courses into that. The only courses you can't add during Change of Mind are restricted entry courses, such as things like medicine or art programs or music programs, because they have an entrance exam or a pre-assessment stage, so they're not open to Change of Mind. But so in MTU, that is pretty much all of our CSM courses, all of our art courses. That's all that's restricted entry. Yeah, that's it. So that's me. If you have any questions, I have a great team, admissionscork@mtu.ie. Just fire any admissions related questions our way and they will get back to you as soon as possible. And I just want to wish you all the very best of luck with your applications. And I hope I'll see ye in the Melbourne building in September for registration. I'll be the small blonde running around very stressed. Best of luck.
Thanks very much, Lillian. So that kind of wraps up our presentation for this evening. I'm just going to jump in on one or two questions. I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat there while running the slides at the same time. Someone's asking about getting the ID so they can do their medical. A little confusion on that. There's just two things. There's a seafarer's ID card if you want. That's something you won't get until after you've come to college. We'll sort that out for you. You get it with your discharge book. There is a seafarer's identification system number, this SIS number. I think that's what you might have picked up on. So anyone can apply for this SIS number. It's just like an account number with the Department of Transport, and that is what will go on your medical certificate. So anyone can apply for this SIS number, and you need to have an SIS number before you can go for your seafarer's medical. And the other one is again, someone sent me a direct message just asking about the vaccine, saying if further COVID boosters come out, will you have to take them? Probably. Basically, it's up to the companies. The companies don't want people coming on their ships if they're not vaccinated for a range of different things. But it is a personal choice. If you don't want to get the vaccine, just don't work for that company. But you will struggle to get employment at sea if you don't get your vaccines. So that's the way it is. Is there any other questions or for the rest of the staff? Is there anything else you want
Just
to?
to point out one or two things there, Donald. It's in the image there, but we also have a careers portal webpage that people can log into to get information. And I have shared the three links, the website links to the MTU website for the three courses. If people just skim up through the chat, they will find it. And I have the chat open here, and I was thinking that maybe we might quickly just skim down through what's been asked, and there's one or two bits to bring forward. And I suppose the first one here is I'm a chief officer on a container vessel, 10 years sea service. So what courses do we have? And we've shared in the chat there as well an NMCI part-time programs brochure for all our postgraduate type education. There's about 15 courses there available for people with degrees. Next question was, did marine engineering not used to be 3 years? So it is, technically it can be done in 3 years. And we do have students that complete it in 3 years, but you won't be able to apply for what's called a certificate of competency with the Department of Transport if you do it in 3 years. So you can do a work placement over the summer and you will get the course completed in 3 years, or the marine electrotechnology, but you won't get a seafaring qualification at the end of it, which is what you're really coming to do. So sometimes someone will come in the course, they mightn't like being at sea, and then we'll allow them to move and do shore-based work instead, and they'll do a different module instead of the sea-going module, and they complete the program in 3 years, but they can't then apply for the certificate of competency with the Department of Transport. I'm just skimming through them here. Does the sea placement during the undergrad course count as professional experience, or is it more of an internship? So that's kind of related. And any of the staff can cut across me here, but like absolutely, yes, you need to do the sea placement if you want to get the professional qualification. Something that we mightn't have driven home. I suppose these are dual qualification programs. You're getting an academic qualification from the university, but you're also getting a thing called a certificate of competency or a professional qualification from the Department of Transport at the end of the courses that allows you to then sail internationally. The maths has been clarified. So for anyone else, I suppose I'll run through the questions because look, some people won't have seen the answers. Could you clarify the maths requirements? And ordinary level maths is sufficient. And if you look at the entry requirements are on the web pages. There's no special requirements for maths other than that you've passed ordinary level maths. Someone asked, if I defer the course, granted that it's offered to me, what procedures do I have to follow, and is my place guaranteed for the following year? So Lillian, would you mind just explaining that one, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I saw a question in there. Yeah, I saw that question, but it's probably wiser to answer it for everyone. It is possible to defer your place. So if you apply to CAO this year, you're offered your place. It is possible to defer it. The advice generally is do not accept the offer. Get in contact with Admissions Cork at mtu.ie straight away with the subject line deferral request. Let us know your CAO number, why you wish to defer, and then you will be put on the deferral list. We're very slow to deny these requests. So the majority of people get a deferral if they request it. And then what happens is you have to reapply through CAO for entry 27, but you will also need to ensure that you tick the deferred box, the deferred applicant box, and only put the course that you've deferred on your CAO, because if you put other courses on, that actually cancels out your deferral. So that's the way it works. And then those offers go out in round A, usually in early July or mid-July. So you'll know before the leaving certs know that you have your place.
Thank you very much. There was a question about the Iran-US war and like, will that affect the future of the industry? And we've tried our best to tease that out there in the chat, and the honest answer is of course it does impact the industry in that location. But just like really briefly for a bit of context, there is 50,000 commercial ships sailing around the world on shipping lanes at any one time. There is 2 million seafarers. So this is a global industry, and energy still needs to get to countries around the world. So while our energy is not coming through the straits at the moment, it's coming from somewhere. So yes, it impacts it, but the industry keeps moving, and certain parts of the world will get quieter and the industry will get quieter in that area. But no, the industry keeps moving forward.
And just to jump in on that, Brian, there's way more to shipping than just oil and gas. So all the other stuff is still moving around at the same time. And there's been stuff like this over the years. The Red Sea was shut down when the kind of Houthi rebels were causing trouble there. The Suez Canal was blocked for a while. These things happen. The world keeps turning.
There's a question on accommodation. I've shared the email address for the accommodation. It'll come up again in a moment and I'll share it. Someone has asked a question about a maths exam, and I'm actually just not sure. Brendan has said he'll double check this at the end. Do you know what that's about? Could you get Mark Carton to contact me
So
regarding
yeah, I just replied to Brian because I wasn't aware of this, but maybe I'm just thinking, is that there's a pre-maths exam you could possibly do, or maybe I'm on the wrong train of thought.
Would it be, sorry to jump in, it's not the QQI maths exam that they're asking about, maybe? I know that was advertised yesterday through the Access Office. So if somebody's doing a QQI course, but they don't meet the maths requirements, there's an opportunity in May to do a maths program through the Access Office and sit an exam. Or it could also be our second chance maths exam as well, which is run generally the Tuesday. Now, again, we don't know when we're getting the Leaving Cert results, but generally the Tuesday after the Leaving Cert results come out, MTU will run a second chance maths exam for students who don't meet the maths requirement for their program. So again, you can sit that. It's done over the course of that Tuesday. And should you be successful in that, you will then be eligible for a second round offer, so long as you have the points. So I'm not sure. I don't think either fit the question, but I'm just taking the opportunity to highlight.
No, you possibly answered this question, Lillian, and if not, Wesley, feel free to add another comment and add a new comment, please, if you don't mind, because I'm scrolling down through them, and we'll make an effort to answer it. Donald Keane, the next question is for you. What is the benefit of doing the level 8 nautical science over just taking the level 7?
Again, a little bit of confusion. Maybe you can't just take the level 8. You have to come in at level 7. It's just like climbing a ladder. You come in at level 7, you qualify as officer of the watch. A kind of prerequisite to be allowed to enter the level 8 program is that you have your officer of the watch license. So it is built one on top of the other. So you come in, do the level 7. Now it's something some people turn their nose up at level 7 courses a little bit sometimes, but in reality, you're really signing on to a level 8 course, because the nature of it is you'll do your qualification, couple of years at sea, you will come back and do the level 8 then, just to carry on working up the ladder. So that's the way that the system works. I think Brian mentioned there as well, we will be getting a level 8 for the engineering and electrotech very shortly as well. So this is brilliant. Now it'll be first time we'll have that for all of our courses here. We'll have that kind of progression.
How many women are pursuing a future in the maritime sector? I can tell you that 10% of our seafaring students are females. On our non-seafaring courses, the numbers are higher. And I suppose at net, you can maybe just add a little piece here, but I know from talking to you that there's really good opportunities for female cadets, and they typically kind of get good opportunities from good companies and strong cadetship offers.
Yeah, that's correct. We have a lot of companies that are engaged in a proactive response now to making sure they're meeting their demands, and the demands are that there is a requirement to have female officers on board, suitably qualified officers on board. But we've had a lovely spread from even 10%, 11%, 12% in 2017, I think, for female cadets. We had a very good year there. I shouldn't call it a bumper year because I'd prefer to have 37%. And I know Elise is smiling there because I think we're right. Let's see where the future takes us. But there's definitely a boost in opportunities there across the sectors. So for those that are thinking that if they're female entrants here and they think they may only get positions in the cruise industry, then you're wrong, because we've had significant take up across the tanker trades in recent years, which is great.
David Dennehy or Ian Black, I'm going to land the next question on you, and that's how big of an impact do you foresee AI, robotics, and automation having on the industry? Before I pass it to David or Ian, I've shared two links on that. One on an autonomous vessel, that's a vessel sailing in Norway without any crew. I've also shared some links about the IMO's 2050 emission targets, and a lot of that will be the reduction in emissions will come through the use of automation, robotics, the digitalization of the industry. And I suppose I'll ask David, maybe or Ian, just to talk about the systems on ships and how complex they are.
Hi guys. Just in relation to the AI question, most of the issues we have with this is coming forward is going to be cyber security, right? So securing the vessels, right? I was sailing on, for example, cruise ships, right? These are $800 million vessels, the ones I was sailing on. So with this evolving AI it's coming evolving risks. So actually we're implementing in the course, I believe in September or other next year, a cyber security course. So we're going to be training all marine electrical engineers how to defend against this. Going forward, AI, to speculate where AI will go is just a guess, really. It's just going to evolve everything. But like always, we'll just stay on top of it and keep evolving with it. That's all I have to say about AI, really.
That's enough, David. Thank you. Are certain cadetships more competitive than others to get into? I think, look, the honest answer from my perspective is yes. And Annette, I'll ask you to come back in here again. I know that some companies, I suppose, are more popular than others.
Apologies, I must have missed that question. I'm making my way through the chat. But yes, there are some companies that will always be more popular than others. They're seen as mainstream, I suppose. They've more of a media presence. But it's always a learning curve for me. I've seen 4 new companies join us over the last 2.5, 3 years now, and they've really shifted the focus and moved the competition in a very positive direction. And it's also given cadets, I suppose, the opportunity to look in and say, okay, right, okay, I was wrong there. I've actually spoken to a former student now that has sailed in, we'll take for instance, on bulk carriers, or they may have been on Dutch flag vessels in European waters, and I had originally thought this wasn't for me. The rates of pay are very competitive. So there can be the stereotypical ideas that, cruise and or tanker trades will pay more, but we're seeing a big balance now across the sector, and the competition is there, which is good. It's always very healthy.
In marine engineering, would you fill the 40 places every year? What I can tell you is over the last 3 years, we've seen a 40% increase in seafaring numbers. And like if Lillian is still there, I mean, the CAO data for the 3 courses this year seems to be it's the strongest I've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's increasing every year. My job is genuinely to do my level best to fill all those 40 places. So I will have to answer to somebody if I don't. That's the way I'd put it to you.
No, they're going to be full, all 3 of them this year. That's answered. Do you have to do the medical test before first year starts? You don't have to do it, but if you're an Irish student and you're living in Ireland, get the test done over the summer. We do request that you give it to us when you're registering for the course. look, the only comment I can make, just a common sense approach here, and Donal has teased this out. If you come and do a number of weeks or a semester of education, and then you do that medical test and find out, there's some issue that you're not going to get a discharge book, or you're not going to be able to apply for your COC. Obviously, that's very problematic. For international students, the question came up, will my one from my home country do? And unfortunately, the answer is no, it won't. You'll actually have to get the Irish one. But what I would recommend is you could apply for the one, if you're in your home country, apply for that, get that medical for confidence that you'll pass it, and then you will have to do the Irish one after you come here as well, because the Irish Maritime Administration, to give you the certificate of competency, will request the Irish medical certificate known as an ENG11. And somewhere in the chat, the link to that, I think Ian Black has pasted it. Question about further education. We've shared the courses. How far into my course do I need the seafarer's discharge book? Annette, I'm correct in saying we would start getting that for the nautical science students in the semester 2 of first year, and then for the
Yes.
engineers in semester 2 of second year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Lillian, you'll have to tease this one out as well. So someone's after basically asking, and we did it in the chat, if they do one of the courses and they kind of realize it's not for them, what is the process with transferring, and how important are their points when trying to transfer to another course?
So we do have an internal transfer mechanism, but what I would say to anybody who is looking at applying for a course at the moment is to know that this is tight and it's not always possible. So generally, if you're looking for an internal transfer between two MTU courses, we open this, it's open at the moment. We would also generally advise you to make a CAO application for the course you want to transfer into as well, because that gives you a second shot at it, if that makes sense, because we can't guarantee it. My priority as admissions officers is my current applicants. So if you're applying for a transfer, you're not a current CAO applicant. So I have to prioritize my CAO applicants. It's just the way it works. So generally we open these before the late deadline for CAO. We advise anyone who's thinking of looking for a transfer to apply through CAO as well. So that means that you'll have to meet the points requirements for this year, basically, which we don't know what they are, if they're going to go up, down, whatever. But there is a small window of opportunity within MTU. If you've met 30 credits across your year and a place is available on the course you want to transfer into, then we will entertain it, but you won't know whether you've been approved for that transfer until probably mid-September.
Thank you, Lillian.
Not good news. But there is a perception out there that it's really easy to come in and move between courses. It's really not that easy. So please tell your friends this too, because we get a lot of upset around this in September and throughout the year. Yeah.
My answer to the next question is not good news as well. How do you go about finding digs online, and is there an accommodation officer? Okay, so first of all, the email address is accommodationcork@mtu.ie. So accommodationcork@mtu.ie. Now, there is accommodation, there is digs, there is opportunities, but everyone on this call would be lying to you if we said that it's not a problem. Accommodation is a problem for every university all over the country at the moment. The only advice we can give you here is get on it as soon as you can when your choice is made. It's that simple. Does anyone else have any advice on that? I mean, that's all I can say.
It's the most frustrating. I have twins doing Leaving Cert at the moment and trying to find accommodation. They went into lotteries, they didn't get them. I'm stressed off my head, I won't lie.
Yeah.
Just
But
to add, Brian,
what I would say is it does tend to level once round one has gone through and people don't accept an offer, or they have maybe been given a place in, we'll say, Parchment Square, which is beside us in Bishopstown. So they then don't get their place, or they don't get their points. So places do, like, make sure you're on waiting lists, make sure you're on that you've put yourself into those competitions, because you do see it leveling out. It could be week 2 or week 3 before you'll actually see it really leveling, but it does tend to happen. And we do have a lot of deferral requests in those first few weeks, or, people who start and aren't completely happy with their course. So while it's panic stations at the moment, because everyone's talking about it, what I would say is trust the process a small bit, and something will always, not always, sorry, I shouldn't say always, but something I'm promising the earth, moon and stars. Deirdre Falvey's going to kill me tomorrow. But yeah, things do tend, once you get to campus, make some friends. Sometimes it's word of mouth, sometimes it's, oh, this girl's dropping out of her course, geez, could I have a room? Sometimes that's the way it actually does end up happening.
To highlight as well, we're in Ringaskiddy in NMCI. We always do get 1 or 2 students get accommodation in Bishopstown and then realise we're not there. So we are based out in Ringaskiddy, which is just outside the city. It is on the bus route from the city. Carrigaline is probably the biggest town nearby, but just we're not in Bishopstown.
Can you let me know where those rooms are in September?
When does the day finish for nautical science? I know it starts at 9. So typically, all our students will start at 9 o'clock. They will finish between 4 and 5 p.m. For many of the semesters, our students do a Monday to Thursday, and they actually have Fridays off. We're very lucky in the NMCI because we're, in the main Bishopstown campus, there's over 10,000 students. Timetabling is a serious challenge. We can be a bit more strategic with our timetabling in the NMCI, and generally, not always, but a lot of the time, our students have Fridays off, and they might have some short courses on Friday. So we do our best. There are semesters where you'll have 5 days, but we work hard to give you a 4-day timetable. I'm residing in France. Is the medical? Yeah, so you do need to get the Irish medical. There's no escaping that if you're getting the certificate of competency through Ireland. Question here. The question is, what QQI courses are considered for admissions purposes? Is that?
It'd be me. We don't limit it for NMCI courses at all, really. We've no particular particular courses that we look at I suppose there'd have to be something relative to what you're applying for, but we don't tend to specify that it has to be in engineering or in STEM, or we haven't gone down that route with the NMCI courses.
Oh, that's sound. Is it easy to get a seafarer's ID prior to first year? You don't need to get it prior to first year, and you don't need it to get the ENG 11. I think Donal has explained that. What is student life like as a student attending NMCI? So look, NMCI is literally like going to Ibiza. It is the best campus in the country. We've put a few comments in there. There is some clubs, a rugby club there. We've just purchased 6 sailing boats for our students that will arrive in May. But again, I will be lying to people here if I said that NMCI is, there's more fun and crack here than the main Bishopstown campus. Of course, there's not. We're a small campus of about 1,000 students on site any given week. So of course it's going to be a bit quieter. And Ringaskiddy is a bit quieter than the city. But our students seem to be pretty happy. Elise, maybe that's one that you could come in and give us a bit of info if you're still there.
Yeah, so the main campus does come over to our campus and do things like the ice cream van that they did recently, and they come in and they try and incorporate our campus into the main campus quite a lot, which is good. They organize pub quizzes and things for us as well, so they do try and incorporate us quite a lot into the activities. But yeah, it will be a little bit quieter. There won't be as many clubs because there isn't as many people. I didn't know about the sailing, which is very good. I'd love to join that one myself. But yeah, no, otherwise, I mean, the students tend to have their own groups anyway and go off and do their own nights out. So it's not like we're lacking in the social scene afterwards. We're all it's a little community where we do tend to do a lot of things together anyway, even if it's outside of a club.
And do you head into the city, or what would you do
Yeah,
when?
yeah. So, or even just Carrigaline, some nights. But yeah, no, we'll organize things like that and make sure everyone's got somewhere to go and things like that. So yeah, it's generally not lacking in the social department at all.
Thank you.
And
Um,
you do have access to all the clubs and societies in the main campus. So I know some students do like the surfing society, but no one's going surfing in Cork City. So they're all traveling to the beach to do that. So those kind of societies, people get involved in with as well.
um, I'm from India. I need a letter of employment or sponsorship for my seafarers book, discharge book. How do I go about this? Well, basically, you'll have to get that. You'll have to like get sponsored. But if you come to us here, you'd have to get sponsored first, and then it could delay slightly, then you'd be able to get your discharge book. You can also go about getting sponsored yourself prior to starting the course with us. You yourself can privately reach out to companies and try and get sponsored, but we wouldn't put you through that process until you get to that stage in the degree. Annette, is there anything else to say on that?
You're muted in it.
Oops, I keep doing that. Thanks, Donald. We we say this often that look, for international students that they need to satisfy their home country requirements for the application, and that they need to meet their home country requirements for the discharge book. It makes things a lot more fluid, as you say there. We don't want to delay their sea time. If they have their own home country's discharge book, it can speed things up immensely. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I've applied as a mature student through the CEO. I've applied for nautical science. I had to get the Seafarer's ID to get my ENG 11. I have a UK passport. Will I have to go through the international route at this point? Lillian asked, have you been living in the in EU country for the last 3 to 5 years? And he said, living in Ireland for the last 10 years, UK passport holder. What does that mean for that individual then, Lillian?
I think Lillian might have had to hop off,
Oh,
Brian.
that's okay. That's okay.
Um,
Um,
Brian, I don't have a Seafarer's ID. I still get ENG 11s. I mean, if you go to the doctor, he will tell you
yeah,
pass fail. That's what we want because for an engineer, it's going to be expired before you go to see anyway.
I think though, Brendan, his question is actually access to the course more so.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Um,
I,
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to check it out for you.
I,
So
I
the
Can you just
can't
say
find
that
the
again,
question. Sorry, Brian. Could you repeat the question again?
question was at 2003. Um, so
2003.
The order of them is different for all of us, I think. The chat,
Hello,
whatever
I've
is
applied.
set up it is.
um, so he's applied for the nautical science degree. Well, he says he's applied. I'm not sure what.
Does he have UK?
I mean, if it's to do with DNG 11, you don't need the Seafarer's ID. I mean, that's
No. And if he has, can I just jump in here as well, Brian? It says
yeah.
here that he has a UK passport,
Hmm.
thereby a UK citizen. So we have a cross-border agreement in place for UK students, and he would not need to go through the international route.
And do you know what I might do? I might just pop in the admissions email address. So we have it. If you email the admissions email address, if if we're not answering the question that you're asking, email that admissions email address and we'll get it answered for you in the next day or two.
Yeah.
So, geez, there's still a lot of questions here. Now this one, Donal, I might ask you to try and tease it out, but somebody is basically asking for placement. Like, can I kind of go down the super yacht side of things? Now, I've answered it to a certain extent. Like, our mission here is STCW, yeah,
Uh,
IMO international qualifications, whereas yachting qualifications are domestic. Would that be?
Not domestic, no. And Brendan has touched on it. It's usually to do with the size of them. So some of the yachts kind of aren't big enough. They don't follow the international regulations. The Department of Transport, if you go to the seafarers.ie website, they have a document called the exam regulations. And inside in that, it gives really specific details around sea time requirements. So they have other restrictions like survey vessels. Maybe you're not allowed to do all of your sea time on them, and they give a breakdown in there. And the other issue with them, as Brendan pointed out, is they don't necessarily have space for bit facetious now, but like dead weight, cadets are taking up space that could be there for the passengers and stuff. So they just tend to be a bit tighter on space.
Yeah, there's one thing we'd like to add. Maybe Annette, you could answer it. He further down, it's coming back up again. He's asked about can he go away in first year and start ticking off his cadetship essentially after first year? But I don't think he can because you need to complete the modules to start the
Yeah.
CFAs, don't you?
Yeah.
So no, there's a logic to this.
So when you come to our program and the Department of Transport recognize our program, you get a reduction in sea time. So you can, if you want to go to sea, you can just go get a job on a ship and start working. For the deck department, you'd have to do 36 months sea time. But if you come to the college, you join our recognized program, you only need 12 months sea time. But that program is you do first year, then you do sea time, then you do third year. So you have to follow the sequence. And okay, it's a bit restrictive, but the benefit you're getting on that is a 2 year reduction in sea time. So overall, you're going to come out a lot quicker.
Yeah, but I suppose back to the point, if he has connections, use them, but doesn't count towards seat time, but you get the experience. It's your summer holiday, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wesley's question, I'm back to it again now. He said it was to do with mature students about the maths. So look, if Lillian hasn't answered that, Wesley, you can you'll have to email that admissions email address at this point. I skipped ahead there now. Sorry, I'm going back. Okay, is it possible to get sponsored for 4 years of college as a marine engineer? It certainly is, but that's something you yourself would privately have to do. You'd have to contact companies, and sometimes we have had students that have come to us and they have a company and they are sponsored by their company for the 4 years of the degree, but it's not something that we facilitate internally in the college. Um, Brendan, what would be a typical work split for a marine engineer at sea?
Oh yeah, I went through that. I think I answered it a little bit. We are 9 to 5 essentially for engineers. And then we go, it's called UMS, where we go unmanned. So if Brian, me, and Annette were at sea as the engineering team, today I'd take the bells, or I would say that if alarm goes off at 1 a.m., I'll go down tonight and deal with it, and then fix it, go back to bed. The next night, Brian will take over. He does his 9 to 5, covers the alarms at night. He might get no alarms. And then we roll like that always around to Net's turn. We keep going around. Depending on the ship, I've gone for months and never had a disturbance. I've had some ships where you get a few alarms, but generally it's 9 to 5 if we can deal with it. But I also have made a caveat. It depends on the sector. If you're a ferry and you're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you just run 24/7, but you have shorter trips. So it just depends on the ship as well.
Can I do STCW courses before accepting my course? Annette has answered it. You can, yes, certainly go to NMCI Training Services, our commercial leg in the college, and register for courses, but they are free for our students that register on the approved programs. So there, you certainly don't need to do that. Is there a specific accommodation for NMCI? No, not anymore. What what's college day look like for the ETO? Across the three programs, you're looking at about 25 hours a week, and we work hard to keep it to that 4 day split where possible. What is the yearly calendar like? If you Google MTU academic calendar, you'll get it. There is 2 semesters, 12 teaching weeks, a revision week, and 2 exam weeks. So you're looking at 15-week semesters, 12 weeks of teaching, 1 week of revision, and then you have your 2 exam weeks. We only have 1 exam week in the NMCI, so really it's 2 14-week semesters. And Brendan, Ian Black actually has kindly shared the link to the academic planner there. During which semester of nautical science are the STCW courses completed? They are completed
This
in
semester.
semester one, sorry.
Yeah, this semester two. So it tends to be Fridays, but it's broken into groups. So of the 12 Fridays in the semester, you might only be in for 5 or 6 of them.
Now, does it matter if you have a level 7 or level 8 if you're a marine engineer if you spend the same amount of time at sea? Brendan, you've been teasing that out there. I'm not quite sure what that means.
Yeah, it just means look, most of our graduates have had level 7. If let's say in the UK, if you did a level 8 or another country did a level 8 and you're earning the same money, it's the COC essentially gets you your money. But I did say in the comment that it's a good course, it's a challenging career, your expectations are high, and you deliver to industry. We are pushing that it'll be a level 8. We're doing the best for our students. And then if you want to transition to a shore job or get into a master's maybe. So we're just doing the best for our students. But yeah, it's a level 7, level 8. It doesn't matter. The COC is what earns you the money essentially.
When do results come out? It is approximately June 20th. What type of boats were bought? What's that? Oh, that's the student boats. Uh, um, was it
Fireflies, I
Fireflies,
believe.
Donald?
Yeah, fireflies.
Fireflies.
Just conscious of the clock, Brian. We've
Yeah,
been
so
going
am I.
for quite a while. So maybe we could, I suppose, think of start wrapping it up.
Yeah.
I suppose you've highlighted the email address a couple of times. So any other questions we can answer them through that. And we, I suppose, see about getting the video put up as well if people want to listen back. And there definitely is a similar kind of last year's similar event is up on YouTube.
You know what I'll do? I will
Um,
put the link into the chat here, Donald, for last year's event. And it's
a lot
certainly,
of the questions is very well
yeah.
broken down. It's easy to find the answers for specific questions.
And look, I'm happy to stay on here for another 5 minutes while people are logging off, but we're effectively finished. We've asked all the questions.
Yeah, I
But
can stay as well, Brian. There's no
yeah.
problem.
So Donald, you've to head off there. We'll hang on and people can be jumping off there. We're effectively finished. Everyone can log off. Myself and Brendan will stay here and we'll chat away to anyone that wants to ask a few questions.
Hi, Aidan as well. Aidan's just asked about shore jobs. Yes, I came ashore. I've stayed in the marine industry, but we were teaching board gosh technicians last week in the college, and some of them were ex-seafarers. So in Ireland, we have the Irving refinery, the seafarers in there. In Cork, we have Heineken, we have seafarers in there. Eli Lilly, Pfizer's, you name the big systems. Another interesting one is Aviva. So your insurance company, the man from Aviva, they have 26 engineers who go around testing components or factories around the country. And of the 26, the senior one is a marine engineer, and 16 of them are ex-seafarers. So yes, there are plenty of jobs ashore.
Next one, Brendan, I actually don't know what he's asking. Something about facilities. I'm just going to look up the fees here for the following question. If you can answer the second one there.
I have the fees there,
So
Brendan, as well, or I have the fees done there, Brian.
Ah,
He's
fair
sorted,
play.
yeah.
So yeah, facilities in the campus. We have a new student room, don't we? It's been done up at the moment. So we have one pool table in there, but we're getting darts board, pool table, new TVs. There is rugby, soccer. There's an AstroTurf pitch. There's a brand new gym, which is actually fantastic. And then it's a fantastic place to run as well. So there's plenty to do in Ringaskiddy. But as Brian said, you're kind of doing a 20 something hour week in the classroom.
One there,
The
eyesight just popped up. I noticed when it's there because I used to fail this exam. So you need to be able to see unaided. I think it's the third and the fifth line on the card. And then with your glasses, you have to be able to see properly. Now the deck and engine requirement is slightly different. It's a higher standard for deck. So when you get your medical done, it's important that they stick down if you're going to be deck or engine. And my route out of it, I actually went and got the corrective eye surgery. So I no longer wear glasses. So that's a way around it. Takes a bit of time though.
Yeah, I suppose we should say Decker engine on that one as well, Donal. I'm an engineer. I've always had glasses since I was a kid. I have been at sea for 20 years.
Yeah.
Um,
these Annette, I think it's actually
I've just
closer.
I'm
about
actually just
2 grand.
updating it. Thanks, Brian. I've just literally seen there's been an update to the site there now, so I'm just going to copy that in. Yeah, thanks.
So someone's asked about the aerospace jobs. I would say anything's possible. As an ETO, you are electrical engineer, similar to electrical engineering up in MTU or UCC. But you're a lot more hands-on, I would say. A lot of our graduates get stuck into panels, get stuck into problems. If you decided to leave C and go for an aerospace job, I'm sure you would be able to sit down and quite comfortably explain what you did and how it relates to a similar field.
If anyone else has any questions, do put them in the chat. I'm just going to put the email address, I think the admissions email address in one more time for anybody that's still there so that if they do have a question.
Yeah. We have about 23 still here.
Yeah. It's that email address there again to everybody, particularly if there's something that you might want to. That's definitely the most questions we've got. I've done this 3 or 4 times. This is definitely the most questions.
I think one of the answers just given, or the questions posed here by Oisin McCabe, I think we would be very interested in having bands on site. I would say yes to that. The only issue we would have is with acoustics and possible facilities to support such bands. But we do have visiting students from Cork School of Music down at the NMCI from time to time as well. So if
We
someone's
used to have a
listening in,
band on Christmas Day, didn't we? There used to be always a band.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they need to reinstate that. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, so Aiden, just maybe is C generally safe? I would say yes. I've had enjoyed a fantastic career at sea. I've worked on tankers, LNG carriers. I was chief engineer for a passenger cargo between Dublin and Liverpool. I've been to the Arctic. I've been to Australia, South America, gone through the Suez Canal. I've transited the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know how many times in my life. I've been up the Gulf of Aden. I've been on ships with security on board. I've been on super yachts with private security on board. I've been on with special boat services, actually, the SBS. Yeah, and I have always felt safe. And mixing with nationalities has been fantastic. It's been the making of me. I love mixing with other nationalities. There's generally no problem. Um, I think I would have had a stronger Cork accent now if I hadn't gone to sea, but it's been neutralized from dealing with everyone from Chinese to Filipinos to Indonesians, so they can understand me.
What's the catering like, Brendan? What do you reckon?
You might clarify,
Yeah,
is it
generally,
college
yeah,
or is it
very
the
good.
ship?
Yeah, I mean, it's life's fantastic. You don't need to go cooking. There's someone there to cook for you, and it's generally yeah, really good to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's good too. I like, no, we've good. There's good variety in fairness. I think it opens at 8 a.m., is it?
So again,
It,
careful which question we're answering. The college,
The catering. No, the catering. You can get
I know
breakfast at 8 on,
on
isn't
the
it?
ship or on the college. So in the college, it is
Ah,
from 8 o'clock in the morning till 2. So breakfast and lunch it's very good. You get your kind of hot dinner at lunch in the college. Um, Oh, yeah, he says he meant college grad.
Yeah.
I think Brendan was talking about the ships.
I did interpret him correctly, though.
So yeah, no, look, there's a full kind of cooked canteen service there, so they have a couple of options for dinner size lunches every day, or there's a sandwich bar thing as well. It isn't open in the evenings though, so if you do want a dinner, you'll have to kind of get at lunchtime to keep it. But we have microwaves and stuff as well that are available if you want to bring in your own lunch, so save a few pounds as well.
Yeah, for living spaces, I guess this is on board now. It depends on the sector, because on tankers, they're absolutely massive. You could have, as a cadet, let's say you'll have definitely your own cabin and an ensuite, very comfortable. You'll have your own bed, a couch, an ensuite, a nice bit of space. You'll have a gym. Then let's say on cruise ships, it gets tighter. On yachts, it's flipping tiny, because it's just the shape of the hull. And then let's say on ferries, quite good. And then as you go up through the ranks as chief engineer or second engineer, I had my own day room, which meant I had my own living room plus my cabin on board. And then we have a TV room, generally a bar for soft drinks. And then, as I said in the chat, you could have PlayStation, Xbox, get movies on board. There's most ships now have Starlink, so we've good internet. So it's generally pretty good.
So I'd like to just finish by thanking everybody who attended the CAO advisory session tonight. I hope that you got some valuable information from the night that will help inform your decisions. And if we didn't answer your question, just to remind everybody, nmci.admissions@mtu.ie. If you can send an email to that email address, our admissions team will certainly be able to point you in the right direction to get any unanswered questions answered. So thanks again, and we hope to see some of you in the college in September.